Okay, we're recording. Oh my gosh, I am literally so beyond excited for this right now. We tried to do this obviously, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, and Hannah and her boys got sick, so obviously here we are. But either way, you guys get to hear from her, so I'm totally just so pumped. So Hannah, do you want to share your story first, or do you want me to? Because I know there's some girls of yours on here. Okay,
Whichever. You
all
can
right.
go
So
first.
I'll go first since I'm here, and then I'll have you do it. So if you don't know me, hi, I'm Brooke. I'm from South Dakota. I joined this business initially as a band teacher just for gas money. I watched my friend Morgan, if you guys know Morgan Martin McIntyre. If you know her, I watched her for a whole year after she reached out to me about the hair, skin, and nails and was just not about that. I was like, oh, no, not going to do it. And then things just got financially bad for us, like really bad. And something went wrong basically every month, whether it was plumbing in our house or our cars breaking down, and we just couldn't do it anymore. And so I looked at my husband, I was like, do I do it? Do I do it? And he's like, oh, I mean, yeah, if that's what you feel God is calling you to. And so we prayed about it and everything like that. And obviously here I am. So I joined, doubled my paycheck each month until I went Ruby, got $1,000 bonus and tripled it, which was incredible. 8 months later, we found out we were pregnant, and I realized the actual reason for God bringing me this business. And so now I've been able to be a stay-at-home mom, which is just absolutely incredible. And I never thought I would want to be one, but now I couldn't imagine my life any different. So I know it's a really, really quick story of mine, but that's a quick snippet of me. Hannah, go ahead and share your story.
I realized I wasn't muted that whole time. Sorry, guys. Okay, so my name is Hannah Reaves, for those of you who don't know me. I have been in the business for 3.5 years. I was in college when I joined, and I actually got married when I was 18 years old. And with that comes a lot of financial difficulty, getting married so young. And so me and my husband, like I said, got married. I was in college. I was working 3 jobs. So I was waitressing, I was bartending, and then I was folding clothes at a clothing store. And then like even on Saturdays, I would like ref Pee Wee basketball games for extra cash because I used to play basketball in high school, and it was a way for me to make under the table money, cash, so that we could do like little stuff here and there and like have extra. But there was never extra. And so that's kind of like what I did. Worked all week, went to school all week, and then bartended on Fridays and Saturdays until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And that's actually how I met my husband. He always jokes with me. He's like, my mom told me never to marry the girl that I met at the bar, but here we are. And so that's kind of like our story with that. But I joined this business because I had seen one of my coworkers post about the business, and she asked me about the business. And I told her no, and I ignored her. And then she quit her job that we were working together. And I was like, she must be making some money if she's doing that. And so she actually asked me if I would do this business multiple times. And like I said, I had told her no so many times, and I ended up joining. Guys, I joined for $10. I'm a $10 kit deal. I'm not sure if Brooke was here when, probably not. So that means none of y'all were here when that happened. But Mark did a $10 kit deal, and I signed up. And guys, we were so broke that it ended up being like $14 with tax. And we were so broke, I almost like called and asked for a refund for my $15 back, because that was like a tank of gas for my little car. And so my husband actually talked me out of it. Didn't do anything for a month, and was, I'm from a really, really little town, a lot of small town gossip, just a little tiny town here in Texas. And I had not a whole lot of friends, all of that kind of stuff. And I was just terrified of what people thought about me. So I didn't do anything for about the first month that I joined. Finally, someone asked me the question that really changed the course of my business, and was like, why are you letting people who like literally don't have anything to do with your life, who aren't paying for your bills, who are doing nothing for you, dictate how you're going to provide for your family? And so that is something that changed my business. And from then I decided just to go all in 100%. I promoted to Ruby, I think a month or 2 later. I actually earned the $5,000 Emerald bonus. And then I actually just got one payment of that because I lost rank, and that's part of my story. Or maybe I got 2 payments, 1 or 2 payments. And then I went Diamond. And guys, I sat at Diamond for like 2 years, 2.5 years. So I went Diamond, and what happens when we don't work? Eventually you can ride the wave for a little bit. That's the great thing about residual income. I made really good Diamond money not doing anything for about 2 months, but then it went down, and I dropped my business pretty much all the way back down to Ruby. Found out we were pregnant with our first, which is, his name is Case, and decided to go back in all the way. Went back, he was born and went diamond the month before he was born. I had graduated college at this point. Did the same thing. And that's, something else. If you don't learn the lesson the first time, God's going to give it to you again. And so what happened? I stopped working again, and I slid all the way back down to executive. And it was the lowest of lows in my business. I've never thought about walking away from this business other than one time, and it was December of 2019. But something in me was like, Hannah, don't you do it. I just didn't have peace with it. I could not walk away, but I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm so tired of doing this. And I knew the money was real. It wasn't the money. This was a me problem. It was a mindset problem. It was a Hannah problem. And shortly after that, I went to conference, because conference is amazing. Came back. This was February 2020. Came back from conference, really ready to go, and got super sick, couldn't figure out why, and I was pregnant I unexpectedly had gotten pregnant 2 days, found out 2 days before my first turned 1. So we were like, okay, this was not in the plan, but we're good, we're rolling. It's gonna be fine, everything's fine. Everything was not fine. My husband lost his job a few weeks later. He was in the oil field, hashtag 2020. He lost his job, and we did not know what we were going to do. And literally a week after that, we found out we were actually, in fact, expecting twins. So not only were we unexpectedly pregnant and my husband lost his job, but now we have a barely 1-year-old and expecting twins. So my due date went from very late November to very late September. And so we lost about 4 months of what we thought, because I also thought I was 6 weeks pregnant. I, in fact, was 14 weeks pregnant. So I lost a lot of time with that. And so that was the changing point for me. When my husband came in and told me he lost his job, I was like, no more. We literally don't have a savings account. We're not prepared for this. Unemployment was only going to be a month or two. It wasn't going to be a very long time. And so I'm like, I have to get my butt into gear. And so luckily I had made it enough. And with his 1 or 2 unemployment checks, we were able to make it. But I was determined by the time that unemployment had ran out that I was going to be making the money again. And so that's what I did. It was a decision, and I went from being paid at conference to an executive with 15 to 1800 ish. I don't know the exact number, group volume, to I got diamond back and promoted to double 4 months later. So from March to, I started really working in March, promoted back to diamond in May, and then went double in June. And so I went from 1800 group volume to about 18,000 group volume in 4 months. And so, like I said, it was a decision. Story's not done. So that summer, like I said, I went double. Things were going great. My pregnancy was going great. We were expecting the twins to come early because twins are full term at 36 weeks, which is pretty much exactly when they came. They came at 36 weeks and 1 day. Everything went fine with delivery. Everything was great. But when they were born, they were making a very weird noise. And come to find out, they were very, very critically ill, and one of them specifically had a very severe lung disease, to the point that the doctors had to talk to us he's probably not going to make it at this point. It was bad. He was on the highest level of life support he could possibly be on. It's called ECMO. It's where they take the blood out of your body, filter it, oxygenate it, and put it back in. So it's really used for heart and lung transplant patients. And they only 4 to 5 kids go on it a year, and only 1 or 2 come off. And so it was a really big deal. It was so scary. And they tried some other things, and by the grace of God and by so many people praying, my boys are completely and 100% healed. The doctors have no medical explanation for it. They've never seen it before. They've never seen levels that high. They've never seen things that bad, and they are 100% healed. And I say that because the entire time we were in the hospital, this business paid for every single one of our bills on auto draft. We didn't have to stress about money. We didn't have to stress about Brock going to work. We didn't have to stress about me going to work. We just were able to be there with our boys and pay for things and hotel food and, you know, all the things that we needed while we were there. And so that is the power of residual income, and that is the power of hard work. And then that was in September when all of that happened. We got home from the hospital in October, had a really good fall and winter season, and then we just promoted to Triple Diamond in January, looking for Prez in May. So very long story, but there it is.
No, I love it. I could hear your story over and over again, and I would not I could just hear it over and over again because it gives me chills, and just like your faith through everything, and just the fact that you did lose rank and you just own that. You're like, hey, this happened because I got complacent. And I was like, all right, cool, I made the money. Because a lot of people do that and they don't keep going. And so I just really appreciate how real and raw you are when you talk about things. And I think that goes perfectly into our next part. Obviously, this Zoom is all about signing distributors. You're constantly a top enroller for that. The past few weeks, I've been a top enroller for that as well, which has been so insane, so cool. So I wanted to get some different perspectives here. So everyone's like, how do I share my story? What do you talk about? How do you share different things? So I'm talking specifically on your story when you're talking about things. For me, sometimes it's I just filled up gas. And so I'll be like, oh my gosh, I just filled up my gas tank. And I remember when I used to get declined for a $5.32 purchase, and I will never again have that happen. And now It Works has been paying for my gas since March 2018. Insert income disclosure statement here. And so I'll talk about things like that. Or maybe after this Zoom, I'll get on and be like, oh my gosh, I love to teach and I love to help people. This is a way that I can do this. And this is a way that God helped me with this. But I do kind of different things. I try to think of all the things the business has done for me. And I try to think of that. So if I go to the store and I get Granger some clothes, or maybe it's something that he really needed. I can't think of something right now off the top of my head, but maybe he really needed something, and I can go to Walmart and I can get it and I don't have to stress about it because the money's already there. Or my bonus just paid for his Easter outfit, and so I'll talk about those kind of things and try to talk about something different every day on my story, but also include a fear in that. That's something that's really changed for me, is when I'm talking about that, and then I'm and so I know you're scared because of this. And so sometimes I'll say it's because you're scared of what people are going to think. Sometimes you're scared that it's not going to work out, whatever it is. And I'll talk that, and I'll just literally get rid of that fear right there and explain that I had that fear, or people I know had that fear, and they joined anyways. And that's been a really game changer for me too. But do you have any different tips on that for sharing on your actual story when you're talking?
So I would argue that stories are one of the most important parts of my business. If any of y'all follow me on Instagram, y'all know I pretty much go ham on my stories. I'm one of those people who blow up my stories, and I really think that my business thrives off of that. And I think something that is important is, yes, I'm going ham about the business, but I'm also going ham about my life. And so people know who my husband is. People know who my kids are. People know what I'm obsessed with. People know that I have an obsession with Sonic drinks, and people know that I use the Revlon hair dryer blow brush, and people know that that my faith is super important to me, and they know that I'm from a little town, and they know things about me because I'm constantly in their face. That sounds really insignificant, but it is very, very true, because if for whatever reason, if you were watching my story and you're like, oh, I like Sonic drinks, you're immediately going to have an emotional connection to me. Okay. It doesn't matter what it's about. It literally has not any value on what it's about. But if you can create those emotional connections with somebody, you've got their attention. Okay. I have people literally message me, hey, are you good? I haven't seen you on stories much today, because they're invested in my journey. Okay. So that is number one of something that I think that if you're not doing, you need to be doing. It doesn't matter what it is. I had groceries delivered today, and I'm putting interactive stuff on my stories all day long. Do you shop in store, or do you do grocery delivery? Because if they're going to do one of the other things, they're going to start being oh, this girl seems like a real person, or oh, this girl's a mom, and she's doing grocery delivery. Maybe I should try grocery delivery. And then they're going to be watching more and more of what you say. And so that way, when you throw in something about the business, or you throw in something about the products, they're going to be more inclined to listen to you, because you've created that emotional bond with each other, or with specifically them with you. It can be very, very little. Guys, my very first paycheck with this was like $21 or something like that. It wasn't significant. It wasn't. It was, I was ecstatic because it was $20 that I didn't have when I joined. And that filled up my little bitty white car that got me halfway to my clinical internship, because I did an internship in college that was 3 hours from my house. Okay. It was a lot of miles. It was like 200 miles or something like that. And so that got me one of the gas tank of 4 that I needed. And so that's what I talked about. So don't feel, and guys, like really, really quick, if you think that when you go a certain rank that you're going to have distributors flock to you, put a 1 in the chat. Like if you're like, if I can just go diamonds, I feel like people would be in my inbox all the time. Or if I went double, people would be in my inbox all the time. Like that is how I felt. But guys, if I'm just being super real and honest with you, distributors have become more scarce the higher that I go, because it becomes harder to relate to me. Okay. It becomes harder to relate to, oh my God, she's making a full-time income and her husband's home and they're doing this and they're doing that. Like, yes, that's great. That can inspire people. But I used to average between 20 and 25 distributors when I first joined. I don't even remember the last time that I've signed 25 distributors in 1 month. And I am 10 times better at this business now than when I was when I joined. But like that just shows you that take advantage of where you're at, okay? Because people don't relate to making $10,000 a month. They don't relate. They do not understand. Like, how did y'all feel when you joined? You didn't even think you could make 20 bucks. You know what I'm saying? You were skeptical of if it was even going to work at all. So why would you think that someone would be more interested in like, oh, she makes $10,000 a month when you didn't even think you could make 20, if that makes sense. So relate to where you are now. And that's what I have to go to. It's not as relatable when I talk about what this business is doing for us right now. Do I talk about it? Yes. But when I get the most distributors is when I'm on my stories talking about like, I'm so excited and so thankful that I had grocery delivery today, because I just got to, number 1, pay for grocery delivery. Number 2, I just got to throw whatever I wanted into the delivery cart. Okay. I didn't have to worry about my card declining. I didn't have to worry about like, I'm going to put the tub of sour cream back because like, that's not a necessity. That's where we were at. We had meat and maybe like a can of green beans. And if I was lucky, I got some coffee creamer, because like groceries was the one bill that I could like shrink if I needed to. Like we could eat beans and cornbread 5 times a week if we had to. Like that's where we were at. And so groceries was always the bill that I had to like fudge. Like I had to figure out how to make it work. And so that's something that I talk about a lot, is I'm just so thankful that, if I want 10 bags of Brussels sprouts, I can buy 10 bags of Brussels sprouts. If I want to get the brand name cereal, I can get the brand name cereal, because that stuff is relevant to where people are right now. And so those are the types of things that I talk about. And the same thing like with Brooke. Anytime that we fill up the car with gas, I'm talking about like, I'm so thankful that I joined for gas money, yada, yada, yada. And, that's something that you can do also. Like, this business will pay for my gas, or this business will pay for my groceries, or what, insert why you joined. So it doesn't always have to be what this business has done. It can be what this business will do, because when you do that, people are going to take you a lot more serious.
I love that. And I had something I was going to say as you were saying it, and it's gone. So I can't remember what it was at all. Today it's been one hot of a mess. Never mind. That was intense. I'm gonna move on to the next part. And if I remember it, I'll go ahead and say it. But I literally I don't even remember what it was. So similar to my last couple of days, sometimes you just have crappy days. Maybe your husband and or fiance and or boyfriend got into a fight with you. Maybe you're having a problem with your friends. Maybe you're just having one of those mom guilt days where you don't want to be on your story. And I have those days, similar to the couple of days I've had, where I don't want to be on my stories very much. And so when you're thinking about, because I tell my girls to share their story every single day on their story, because I say that most of the time people are watching your stories more than they're watching your feed. And so what I do and what I've seen you do is I have a few different stories that I share. So sometimes what I'll do is have just like one picture, and she'll explain this a little bit more, but one picture, and I'll explain my story in different parts every time they click on the screen. But I also have like an over story. And if you don't know about the app Over, that's fine. But it just makes all the like the copy slides and the text slides and all that stuff, that's where those come from, is the app called Over. And so later on in your training, if you're my girls, we'll work on that. But I have one of those stories. And so on those days, I'm still sharing my story, but I can share it without having to talk, especially if especially if you're not excited. I guess that's why I was bringing that up, because you don't want to get on and be like, yeah, I'm really thankful for this business. It did this for me, or it's going to do this for me. I wouldn't join you if you did that. But if you get on and you're like, hey, like this business just did this for me, I'm so dang pumped, but you can't be excited like that if you're in a bad mood. You know what I mean? And so when you're able to still share your story like that, that's why I wanted to bring that up. And so can you explain what you do with those pictures, or a picture, I guess?
So one of the things that I have done for a very long time, and it's I think it's very similar to what Brooke was describing, is I pick a random picture. Typically it's one of me and my kids, or me and my husband and my kids, because that is the type of audience that I most attract, is moms of young children, that type of thing. And so I literally will just pick a picture and I just put it on the story, and I'm just like, hey, like my name's Hannah, like put it on my story. And then I get the same picture and bring it back up. Like, I started this business for gas money, put it on my story, bring up the same picture. And it's the same picture. And it's just, going through the different things. And sometimes I'm like, I joined for gas money. Or, I'll just go through the different avenues of why I decided to do this business. Like, I was so tired of being in debt. Grocery money, gas money. I wanted date night. I wanted extra, just a little bit extra. I was tired of living paycheck to paycheck. I didn't want to have to do hospital shift work. Like, I have my degree in sonography. And so I didn't want to have to do those types of things. So I talk about all the different avenues of why I started. And so that's something that you can do, is take out a piece of paper or take out the note section on your phone and just talk about some of the different things that you have either A, accomplished, or B, want to accomplish. So for me, if I was to do this, when I first joined, like, I wanted to pay for gas, I wanted to pay for groceries, I wanted to maybe go get my nails done, I wanted to pay off some debt, and then maybe eventually my electric bill. So those are 5 things. So those are 5 different ways that you can tell your story. And so that's how you can go about going, like, talking about it on your stories is, I've paid for gas, and now my goal is to pay for gas and groceries. Or I paid for that, and now my goal is to, pay for our electric bill, or so on and so forth. And just be real, guys, because like when people are looking at your stuff, they're not thinking about you. They do not care what this business has done for you. Like, I'm just being honest. They do not care. They're thinking about what this could do for them. That is what you want. You want people to be thinking about them when they read your stuff. People do not like, great for Hannah, she's doing blah, 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 blah. What can this do for me? That's what they're thinking. And so if you can think of ways to make people feel things. So I try and put myself into the place of what did I feel when I was standing in line at the grocery store and had my card declined? How did that make me feel? It made me feel like absolute crud is what it made me feel like. And it made me want to cry. And it made me feel like, am I ever going to get out of this? And it made me feel terrible inside and embarrassed. And I talk about those things because those are the types of things that other people are feeling. And if you can make people, if you can make somebody feel something, you've got their attention and you've got a part of their brain that they're not going to be able to forget about you. And so that is the number one tip, that if you get nothing else from this Zoom, I learned this from a podcast, and is if you can make somebody feel something, you can make them do anything. Okay? You can make someone feel something. It's the same with a marriage. Okay? Love is not a feeling. That is the misconception with marriage. Love is not a feeling. Do I always feel in love with my husband? No. But I do love him, but it's not always a feeling. Love is a choice. Okay? Feelings come and go. But love is a choice. It's an action. It's something that you have to continue to work for. It's the same with this business. If you can make someone feel something, you can make them do what you need them to do. And that sounds very manipulative, and I don't mean it in a manipulative way. I'm just saying, if you can get their attention and make them feel something, when they have that emotional response to something you're doing, they're going to be interested in what you're saying. Okay, that's the point behind what I'm saying. Is so come from a place of how did I feel when XYZ happened, or how will I feel when XYZ happens? Can't wait till money is no longer a stress. Or I hated the way that I felt when this happened. You can go both ways. And so if that makes sense, I hope it makes sense. I'm seeing some of y'all nod, so I'm assuming it does. But that's kind of some tips on how I do that. And so exactly like with what Brooke said, if you have bad days, or you have days like we all do that aren't perfect and aren't social media worthy, you have that ammo in your pocket to still be able to work your business. And so you can still, like, instead of getting on and talking about making your coffee, you can just do like a time lapse video of you making your coffee. Or yes, exactly what Brooke's saying, like you recording your hands making your coffee. Same thing with this business. Like, instead of getting on and talking about the business, you can just find like a family picture or a selfie or a picture of your kids or whatever you want and talk about your story, because you're still in front of people's faces, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. And the only thing that I was going to highlight on that was that, like, I don't want you to think that you can't be real and say you're having a bad day, but I don't want you to offer the business or talk about the products when you're not in the right mood. Because if I tell you, oh, hey, Emily, go watch that movie, it's really good, Emily's not going to go watch that movie. But if I'm like, oh my gosh, Emily, this movie was so gosh dang good, you have to go see it, she's at least going to be interested to go watch a trailer for it. And so that's what I'm saying. So I get on sometimes and I'm like, man, guys, today I just can't. Granger is all over the place. He's all over me. He's teething. He's doing this, whatever. And I'm real about it. And that's what people appreciate. But I just don't want you to get on and talk about the opportunity or the product when you're not excited, because people are going to be like, why would I join someone that's not excited? You know, it just doesn't really work. So that goes into our next part, though, of sharing your story on your actual feed. And so I know Hannah does this, but I share my story every day as well on my actual feed. And that seemed like a lot at first when I first joined. I won't lie to you. I was like, how the heck do I tell my story that many different times? Well, we realized there's two different ways to share it. There's a short business post that's not like your full story, and there's a long business post. And so I wanted to kind of clarify that real quick. So like the last time I signed a customer, I was at the post office. Okay, so I was like, I am so thankful I can work at the post office because I just helped my friend, I don't remember who it was, so I'm gonna use Emily. I just helped my friend Emily get started on the slimming gummies. These are selling out. I'm so thankful. Income disclosure statement. Boom, short business post. I just signed a distributor yesterday. She's on here. Hi, Emily. Not Emily Parker, but the other Emily. I just signed her up while I was cuddling with my son. So I would have a post ready to go here soon that I'm like, oh my gosh, I helped one of my girls get started and helped getting her started training while I was cuddling my son. I'm literally so thankful. I just can't. I almost all of my short business posts talk about how thankful I am, but they're not more than like a couple sentences long, because I feel like I don't want to share my big long story every single day. So sometimes I'm like, I just have a quick thing on my heart I want to share. I'm thankful for this. So that's kind of how I do my short business posts, but I also share like inspirational quotes. And so like today I shared something along the lines, I can't even remember, that it's a hot mess, but it's something like, to get through the storm, you have to have an anchor. Go to my Instagram or Facebook. I just butchered it. It's so bad, but it was really good and it's inspiring. And so I kind of consider an inspiring quote a business post, but I only do that like probably once a week. Like, I don't want that to be my business post every single day, but I'm just showing you there's different ways to inspire people without writing this big long post. So do you want to expand on that a little bit, Hannah?
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I do, that, guys, and that's something that I hope y'all understand. Like, there is no like secret sauce. There's not. There's nothing super special about me or Brooke or any other leader on here that a brand new distributor doesn't have. It's just that we do all the things every day, all the time. And that's why you get on these trainings, is to learn how to do the things. And that's exactly what I do. Is, if I sign a customer or sign a distributor while I'm in the bathtub having mom time, it's been a long day, relaxing in the bath, like I'm so excited that I'm still able to make money for my family while in the bathtub. Like, it's not Don't overcomplicate it. What are you doing when you have business success? Or, oh my gosh, I just made some cash for gas money if you sold a sample while checking the mail. Like, don't overthink it.
Can I
But
give one tip that I learned from you from the beginning real quick?
yeah,
When I first started following you, and I don't remember what Zoom you were on, but you shared a post of yours and you were explaining this, and you said how you talked about what you were doing. So you actually, I remember this picture pretty vividly because I have really photographic memory. But you were holding a coffee cup, and Case was like pulling laundry out of the laundry basket or something. And you talked something about mom life, or like that you can't get your laundry put away because Case is just all over the place. And then you talked about signing a customer. And then you brought back again the laundry. I was like, does anyone else struggle this much with laundry? Like, I swear it takes me forever. Or it was something along those lines where you still talked about either the product or the business, but you ended with something that wasn't the business. So it wasn't like a business post, even though it was. That was a tip I was going to give because it was just so good when I saw you do it once.
yeah. So, and that's, I mean, I still do this. And so y'all are more than welcome to like go check out my profiles because it's something that I had done from the beginning. It is something that I still do, and it works because especially with moms think they're too busy. They don't have the time. They, can't do this because X, Y, Z. And so when I'm showing that my life is crazy chaotic, and that's the part of being real, but I'm still able to have success as a busy mom or as a busy college student or whatever your situation is, you can kind of just like slip it in there, like real quick. Like, so, and I think I know which post you're talking about because it's the same post every time. It's just a little bit different. And so, like, if I was to be doing laundry, like, I would be holding my coffee cup, like, oh my gosh, so excited for my skinny coffee. By the way, I've lost 11 pounds since having my twins. You can see Case in the background and the twins doing whatever they're doing. And just be like, I'm so thankful that, I'm able to be home with them. And then I may say like, and I'm talking to 5 people about the business while holding laundry. And then exactly what Brooke said, does anyone else, like, do you wash your clothes all together or do you separate colors? Like throwing in something that like, okay, so it's like fat burning coffee. There's a lot going on. Oh my gosh, she's lost 11 pounds. So I've put that seed in their head, number one. Or if I talked about the gummies, like how many inches I've lost, they're gonna remember that, and then they're gonna be like, oh, and she like she's talking to people about the business, so people are interested in the business, and she's doing this while her kids are being psychos, and then oh, okay, so she's real because she's doing laundry. So like you're putting all of these different seeds in their head, and so if they're like, oh, I need to lose weight, oh, Hannah's the girl because she's lost 11 pounds. Or if they're like, oh, I'm super busy, but I need extra money. Oh, Hannah's the girl because she talked about doing that while she's doing her laundry. And does Hannah wash her clothes on like all together or like separate? And then that relates to me as like a real mom. And so you can do that in different ways. And maybe you're studying for a college exam and you sign a customer right before you start studying. And you can talk about how you're just really thankful that you can work this business in between your college semesters or your college classes. Maybe you're wanting to pay for next semester in cash or like whatever it is. Guys, I've like worked this business in all stages. So I don't have a whole lot of, I don't want to say sympathy because like I do, because this business can be tough no matter what stage of life you're in. But I've literally went from like being in college and newly married with no kids and ultimately not a whole lot of responsibility, and I promoted all the way to diamond doing that to now working this business. I promoted to diamond again, double and triple as a mom of 3. And so I kind of went through the stages of life with this, and I've kind of like grown up per se in this business. You can do this business no matter what schedule you have. You are not too busy. You're not too busy. It's about priority. And a lot of people say that sometimes the guys, I feel too busy. But what's more important? Feeling like I'm too busy or actually doing something? Because, if you're scrolling or you're doing anything other than cleaning, taking care of your children, studying, or working, you have the time. It's just about the priority to make the time. And so, just putting in those little things. Everybody does laundry, everybody does dishes. So that's a really easy way to incorporate the business into this. But if you're in college, highlight that. If you're a mom, highlight that. If you're, a grandmother, highlight that. Because there's other people who are going to be watching you do that. And think, oh, if she can do that, then I sure as heck can do that. And so, I mean, cooking dinner is another one. If I'm like making something for dinner and I'm talking to 5 people about the business, be like, what are y'all having for dinner? Oh, and by the way, I'm talking to 5 people about this business opportunity. It's, if it was a kit deal, it's $39 to join right now. Fill out the application in the comments. What are y'all having for dinner? Blah, 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 blah. Like, it can be something really like, what's the word? Not passive aggressive. That's not what I'm looking for, but y'all get the idea. Really like passive and like, yes, laid back, not passive aggressive, laid back. And so that's kind of how you can like just slip it in there and just be like, oh, hey, like I have spots open, but like, what are y'all having for dinner? And then they're like, wait, what did she just do? So that's like some of those.
Passive aggressive. Okay, you're making me feel a little better about being a hot mess today. So going into our next part about long business posts, and I don't mean long like it has to be long, but I think those posts are very different than the short business posts. Because not that you're not going to get emotion. If I post that I lost 14 pounds from our coffee and I just lost 10 pounds from our cleanse, people are like, oh, hey, like, I mean, I could probably use that, kind of lose that weight. But I'm talking about the posts that like really get the chills going for them. And so like for me, I got declined for a $5.32 shop bagel. Sorry guys. For a bagel at a bagel shop. And it was not funny at the time, but they made it, literally was ready to go, and I got declined. And I had to walk out of the restaurant thing without it. And it was the most embarrassing moment of my life. And so sometimes I talk about that. I talk about how when I was up in Aberdeen for grad school, I literally was getting ready to call Daniel and be like, I don't have gas to get home. Like, what are we going to do? And he didn't have the money. I knew he didn't have the money. And then a fast start bonus got dropped into my account. And so it saved us. My husband lost his job and he needed gear to be able to work like outside because we're in South Dakota and it's like negative 30, 40 when it's in like the winter time. And he needed to be able to work outside and have gear that would keep him warm. Well, that's just not cheap. So I went and I say blew, not in a good sense, but like we blew $800 on his new equipment. And I could do that because I had this money from the business for my phone, and so those are things I talk about, but I talk about them with emotion. So I'm like, oh my gosh, before this business, I would have never been able to pay for an emergency cost like this. It would have been so stressful. We would have been like calling family members to see who could have helped out or whatever the before was. And then when I joined, I usually talk about like, I was really scared that I wasn't going to make the money or whatever that fear is that I want to hit on that day. And then I talk about what it actually did. So for instance, if I'm talking about my husband's losing his job and stuff, and then my husband lost his job and I was able to pay for his gear. I don't know what to call it, but his gear for outside to keep him safe and warm during the winter. Like I would expand on all of that to make it a little bit longer and get more of that emotion. And so I wanted to touch on that because even if you haven't made money yet, when Hannah was talking earlier, she talked about like name like 5 things that you want the business to do for you. And so I had people type in the chat real quick what they wanted it to do for them. So I'm going to hit on them really quick. So for me, I wanted to pay off my medical debt by May, like hands down. We want another baby, like ASAP whenever God decides to give us one. And so we're like, we want that medical debt gone by the time the second baby would be even a possibility. And so that's for me. And then Shannon, she wants to get her lashes done. So maybe she can make a post and be like, I know this seems silly to you guys, but I really love getting my lashes done, but I know that that's really expensive and I just can't afford it. But now I'm going to be able to afford it. And this like weekly bonus is going to pay for it or something like that. And she can talk about the emotion about people that want to get their lashes done. Danielle wants to go on a vacation. Haley wants to get a down payment for a home. Alicia wants to pay bills and grow their savings. Like you can talk about that and talk about how you feel when it doesn't happen and or when it hasn't happened, however you want to look at that. Talk about the fear along with that and then put in what it's going to feel like when it happens. So that's my best tip for long business posts, as well as like, I don't feel like you have to share this big long paragraph every single day. You know what I mean? Like share what's on your heart. And I know, I don't know how Hannah does it for like planning her business post out, but I know my friend Emily, for her, she writes out like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever, including or excluding the day that's her Sabbath. And she's like, okay, I'm going to talk about homeschooling this day. I'm going to talk about grocery delivery the next day or whatever it is. So for me, that overwhelms me and I can't do that. So what I do is I wake up in the morning and I've got posts already written, but I don't know which one I'm going to post that day because it like goes with my picture and I'm really like OCD about it. But I've got the posts already written for myself and I just have to figure out what I want to do. But maybe it's a scenario where just like a couple weeks ago, like you were sick, I think I was sick like right before you. My son got sick and then I got sick. And I was like, man, I am so thankful. And I didn't have this business post written out, but I'm pretty sure I got a couple distributors from it because it was so like I didn't have to worry about calling in. I didn't have to worrying about my sick pay. Excuse me, sorry. And I just put that emotion into it because I was so extremely thankful that I didn't have to call in when my kid was sick. So that's just a tip that I wanted to give about long business posts. And I feel like I talked a lot. So I don't know if you have anything else you want to add on about that, but they are so good because you get the emotion, but I don't know.
No, and that's probably something that is more of my strong suit is I write really in-depth business posts because like I talked about, this goes right into what I was talking about before is like when you make people feel things is where you've hit the nail, the nail on the head. Because when people are reading your stuff, they're thinking about them. They're not thinking about you. And I don't know how else to say that where it like gets through your noggins. They are not thinking about you. Okay. They are not thinking about you. You're thinking about you. You're not thinking about them. You're thinking about you. They're thinking about them. Like, so everyone is thinking about themselves. And so when you're writing those posts, put yourself in that frame. How does it feel? How do you feel being broke? How do you feel when your card declines? How you joined for something, like you joined for whatever it is. I was so sick of worrying about my card declining. I was so sick of it. I hated it because like, what if there's not service in the store? How am I going to check my bank account? Oh God, like, do I swipe it and like test it and do the walk of shame back out to my car and be like, no, there's no more money in that car. Like, I've had to leave like $75 worth of groceries there because I knew I didn't have the money. Like, and so when I talk about those things, like y'all can feel my emotion right now. Y'all can feel it. I don't have to be in person smacking you on the head, like to make you understand. Like y'all know how I felt because you can feel it in my voice. It's the same thing when you write your business post. That's the place I put myself in. Like if we didn't have this business when Brock had lost his job, I do not know where we would be. I probably would have had to go back to work. And I was 30 weeks pregnant with twins. That's the point that we were at. And so putting yourself into that place, how does it feel? Okay, so maybe using those words like stressed, overwhelmed, paycheck to paycheck, scared, fearful, I'm trying to think, just those key words, broke, not enough money, anything like that that's going to spark other people's emotions. Write a list if you need to. I have some of my new distributors do this. Is write the words or write the numbers 300, 600, 900, and 1200 on a piece of paper. Okay. Or in your phone notes. What would you do with $300 right now? 3 different things: car payment, insurance and groceries, and I don't know, a new pair of work boots. Doesn't matter. Okay. Then write what you would do with $600. Okay. That's my car and my insurance. That's this, that's that. And then go 900 and 1200. What would you do with each of those sets of money? Those are your business posts. Congratulations. Those are what you write about. I'm so glad that if you've already made $300, that this business has allowed me to pay my electric bill. Or, if you haven't made $900 yet, talk about what it's going to do. People want to see the vision happening. So one of the tips that I had when I first joined was we had maxed out credit cards, multiples of them. And so I started talking about when I made enough money, I was going to pay off the credit cards. And I did exactly that. I paid off my credit card. So I went live on Facebook, literally cutting my credit card up with a pair of scissors, because people were invested in the journey of me paying off my credit card. So don't be afraid to share what you're going through. Now, I'm not saying air your dirty laundry. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if you have a goal to pay more than your minimum credit card payment, talk about it. And every time you get a fast start, this is going towards my credit card payment. Like, I used to pay the bare minimum, and now I'm able to pay double that or whatever. Every time you get a fast start. Okay. Or maybe your fast starts are going towards like getting your nails done. Be something little, like it doesn't have to be this big dramatic thing, but if you can just make people feel like, nails always made me feel really confident's a good word, and I never felt that, and I was always really self-conscious of the ways my nails looked because I bit them, and so now I'm so thankful that like I am able to just go get my nails done and it not be a stress. It doesn't have to be something that's like, oh my gosh, this business paid for our $2,500 mortgage and our $1,000 car payment, and we have $1,000 or $100,000 in savings. Like, it doesn't have to be extreme. Because guys, that like there's a point where that's like fairy tale money that they don't understand, because people who are living on beans and cornbread and putting groceries back and couponing cannot fathom that. They're fathoming, how am I going to make it until payday on Friday? Like, I literally have 2 cents in my bank account. I've been there. So talk about those things. I used to get so tired of having $2 in my bank account, wondering how I'm going to stretch that until Friday. Like, what if an emergency happens? God forbid there's an emergency, because I literally do not know what we are going to do. Like, so talking about those real life things. If you need to, get out a piece of paper and talk about the money struggles you've had. A lot will come to light really, really fast. Like, if there was a time where your car broke down and you didn't have the money, or you had to call your parents for money, or you couldn't go on vacation, or you had to tell your friends no to going out to eat, or, someone mistold you a total, and like, okay, so like, here's another example. In January, we had a carbon monoxide leak. We had a major gas leak, hello promotion month, stuff like that always happens during promotion months. But we had a major gas leak in our house. Okay. So the next day we had to go to the ER that night, number one, and get the boys checked out for monoxide poisoning. But the next day we had to come have this guy look at all of our systems to make sure where is the leak coming from. And he told us that I'm not going to charge y'all because I didn't do anything. Here's the problem. Let me just pull out the whatever it was causing the blockage and put it in the trash. That's literally all he did. And then we got a $300 bill in the mail 2 or 3 days later. And so the fact that we could pay that, I don't know what we would have done had we not had, so just things like that. So if you need to, get out a notebook and talk about all the money stresses you've had. What are problems that you've had in your life because of lack of money? Or maybe what are problems that you've seen your parents have? Maybe you're young and you haven't had a whole lot of financial hardship yourself yet. What are things that you don't want to do that your parents did? Maybe you saw your parents fight about money. Brock and I fought about money. We don't fight a lot, but when we were first married, that's what we fought about. We didn't fight about anything else. He's my best friend, but we fought about money. So I talk about that. I was so sick of fighting with someone that is my best friend and that I love so much about flipping money. It sucks. Can we fight about who's going to do the dishes? Come on. And money stress is hard, and it causes a lot of division with a lot of people. And so I talk about that. We still have arguments and we still have fights just like everyone does, but it's not about money. So, that's one box that's checked off, and so, and working on being better in that aspect. So just, if you need to, get out a piece of paper and talk about the things that you've struggled with or stressed about or don't want to stress about anymore. Those are your posts. And then figure out a way, find a leader that inspires you, find someone else who you look up to, look at what they're doing, and then do the same thing with your own situations and your own words. Okay?
Well, yeah, actually, that's a perfect lead into what I was going to say, is that sometimes you write a few posts and you're okay, I feel like I've hit on most of my goals this week of what I want. What else can I share about my business? What else can I share? That's what I actually do in part of my training. I added it in. I talk about how well, first off, I thought stories were really stupid when they came out. I was literally I'm not posting on these. They're so dumb. Why would I post on these? And then obviously I realized the market that it had, and then it was kind of fun. And now I'm addicted to it. But what I did, because it wasn't natural for me, is I found somebody, and at the time it was a different person, but then they left the business, and then I was like, Morgan, what do I do? My other inspiration outside of you left the business, and I don't even know, but God led me to Hannah. And so now I've taken a few of her posts because like I feel like there's some posts of hers that I could write myself. And so what I do is I take that and I put it in my notes app, but I don't just post that because that's Hannah's writing. I don't talk the same way that Hannah does, and Emily doesn't talk the same way I do. Like I use a bunch of emojis, I use exclamation points. Like it's, you can tell it's me when I type. And so what I do is I'm like, okay, what did Hannah just say here? Oh, she talked about feeling stressed because of XYZ. Okay, well, I used to feel stressed when whatever happened. Okay, then she talked about I can't, now I'm like blanking. But then she talked about this, and I just basically reword what she said because I loved it so much. Now I don't do that every day. That's not my goal. I don't just go to Hannah's page and be like, all right, what post does she have ready for me today? Like that's not my thing. But when I'm feeling, I don't even want to use the word uninspired because that's not right. But when I'm feeling like I don't know what to write, I go look at someone's that I do like I am inspired by, and also look at Morgan's too. But Hannah writes about the mom stuff. And so for me, that relates obviously right now, and I'll take it and I'll kind of make it my own, but I'm still saying what she said because I just need a little guidance sometimes. So that's a tip I have too. And I don't know if you want to expand on that at all, but if not, that was one of the last things I had.
Yeah. And so like how many of you are like in high school and it's like, you know, when you're not supposed to copy and paste, so you copy and paste it anyway, and then you're like, okay, what's a synonym for the word the? Like that's kind of what you can do. Like, okay, so we're gonna say instead of water, we're gonna say H2O. Like that's kind of like what you can do. So find someone that relates to you in some way, and it can be multiple leaders. Morgan has always been an inspiration to me, but like Morgan is not a mom yet, and so I can relate to so much of this part of her story, but then like with the mom stuff, I have to like look at somebody else. And so I am a combination of all of the leaders that have inspired me and all of the stuff that I've listened to and all of the trainings that I've listened to. So like you may not just have one inspiration. You may have multiple inspirations. You may pick something from, you know, this leader and something from this leader and something from this leader. And like, oh, I really like how this leader opened her business post with this quote or this scenario. And so doing those types of things, like another person that I like really look up to is Jade, because I relate to Jade. Yeah, I think someone just said that in the comments, a whole heck of a lot, because like she's a mom and like I'm just on her level some days. And so I take a lot of what Jade, like I cannot help but look at what Jade is doing because I just never know what I'm going to see. It's so interesting to me. And I relate to that because I'm like, sometimes I just never know like what I'm going to walk around the corner and like see Case doing. And so that's the type of things that like I'm taking bits from Jade. I'm taking bits from this person. I'm taking bits from this person and this person, and then creating my own. And so if that's what you have to do, especially if you're new, find a leader that inspires you. And that you relate to, and then you can use their business post and be like, okay, so this person was talking about how, you know, she did this with her kids today. Well, what did I do with my kids today? Okay, well, she took her kids to the zoo and I fed my kids cereal. So that's what we're going to do. Like, it doesn't have to be anything extravagant, but like just sometimes just having a base to go off of is like what you need. And then like once you kind of start, the juices just kind of start flowing and you can kind of get in your rhythm. And I mean, I still do that. I still do that 3 years in the business. I'm like, you know, I don't know how else I can talk about my story, but that's the great thing is your story changes every day. Like you learn new things because you have to fall in love with the process. Like everyone wants to get to the goal. Everyone wants to get to ambassador. Everyone wants to get to double or whatever your rank is. And that's great. That's awesome. But if you're just fighting for the goal, you're missing the point. It's about who you're becoming getting there. Okay. Because y'all are not I don't know who's all teams on here. So I don't want to assume, but is there anyone on here that's a double diamond? No? Okay. So, and take this in the best way that I know how to say it, because y'all are not doing something that a double diamond is doing. Just like I'm not a presidential, because I'm not doing something that a presidential diamond is doing. I'm not ambassador because I'm not doing something that an ambassador is doing. Okay. So I've got to fall in love with the process of becoming a presidential. What is a presidential doing that is different than what I'm doing? Because if you were acting just like a double diamond or a diamond or a ruby or whatever rank you're trying to go, you would already be that. You would already be it. And there's a reason that you're not. And that's a great thing. Okay. This is not something to like be down about yourself. It's about like, okay, so like it's like a puzzle piece. Like what's the next thing that I need to accomplish before I can get to that point? You have to fall in love with the journey. And that's something that took a really long time for me to figure out. I was constantly stressed about, man, if I could just go double diamond, if I could go double diamond, like double diamond was a roadblock for me because I was at diamond for so long. So I had to really put myself in the position of like really enjoying the process of how to get there, because I am not the same person that I was when I joined the business. And I'm not the same person that I was when I went double diamond. Just like I'm not going to be the same person that I was when I went triple when I go press, because it's about the journey of getting there. It's about the journey of becoming the leader. It's about the journey of becoming the person that you're meant to be. And that sounds really silly. It sounds kind of cliche and it sounds like, but it's true. When you start falling in love with actually being the person who is worthy of that title and the leader that is worthy of that title, things kind of start to click. And then you come from a place of, I don't know, you come from a different place of rather than just like, oh my God, scrambling to like, how do I make a post? Like instead of like learning how to make your own posts. That's the point. So copying other leaders' posts is great when you're new, but ultimately the goal is to teach yourself how to write your own post. Does that make sense? And teaching yourself to become your own leader and teaching yourself to become your own post writer. So that way, one day you can help your team do what you've learned to do, because you can't lead a book study to a book you've never read. Like you're not going to be able to help your team through things if you've never gone through them. So if you're struggling writing posts, then that is something that God is preparing your heart to be able to teach your team to do. But you've got to teach yourself how to do it, or the problem's never going to go away. So like copying and pasting different leaders' posts over and over and over and over and over is never, ever, ever going to get you to the next level, because you're still doing the same thing. Okay. So that's how you teach yourself. Copy a business post of mine. Great. Copy it and paste it to your notes. Now make it your own. And I don't mean change, water to H2O. I'm talking about literally like make it, okay, so she said she did this today. What did I do today? Okay, now she said she did this and she felt this. How did I feel when I did this? Like, and so truly making it your own, but using someone as like a template, if that makes sense. Sorry, I go on rants, but it's
Oh, I love your rants. I can listen to them all day. Don't even worry. The only thing that I was gonna hit on that you talked about like 10 seconds before you stopped, I think, sort of anyways, about like developing into the leader that you want to be, and in a sense, showing up as the rank that you want to be. What is a diamond doing if that's what you're going for? What is an emerald doing type of thing? But the other thing I was going to hit on, especially with distributors, is like I make my girls ask my girls to take the color personality test right away. Not because I used to think those things were really, really weird. And then I realized how much they help, and they help me lead them. And so I'm a yellow green. And if you don't know what that means, that's fine. I'll kind of get into it really quick here because I only have a few minutes left. But as a yellow, my yellow heart wants to help as many people as I possibly can. So I make sure that is so vivid in my stories. Yeah, drop your colors real quick because I'm curious what we have on here. I always want to help people, so I make that really clear in my stories. But my green also really likes to know the details of things, so I talk about that. And I talk about, hey, you're eligible for a $5,000 bonus. And then they're gonna be like, ooh, how do I get that? And that piques some interest. If you're a red, I know the money, obviously competition, reds love that. If you're a blue, you could talk about Zooms like this and like power hours we have for our team. We get on, we jam out to music and we're like hanging out and we're getting all this work done. You can talk about all those different things. Maybe you're like, we have a trip booked to Colorado now in April with our team, and we can talk about all those different things and hit the different color personalities. So use your color personality to your strength too, I guess, is one last thing I wanted to hit on. And I feel like you ended really good. So if you want to end on that note, that's fine. But do you have anything else that you want to like end on? Because we actually ended really close on time, and I'm really proud of us because I didn't know if we were going to get through everything, but I wasn't sure if you had anything else you wanted to end on.
No, I mean, not really any other tips. Just the fact that, like, guys, it's March. And in my personal opinion, boom season doesn't truly start until March, because January and February is still like people are recovering from Christmas and like getting in the groove and like all of the stuff. And so now is the time. Now, not, I mean, the time is going to pass whether you get your butt into gear or you don't. Another month is going to come and pass and go, and another year is going to come and pass and go unless you decide to do something different. And that, you know, follows right into what I was saying earlier. You are where you are because of the choices that you have made. Good, bad, ugly, everything in between. You are in the financial situation that you are in because of the choices that you have made. Good, bad, ugly, and everything in between. So if you want something different, you have to do something about it, because if you continue doing the same things that you're doing, that's what got you here to begin with, if that makes sense. And so that's where you truly have to start showing up as, if you want to, like, drop what rank you're going for, okay? Like mine is presidential in May. Oh, like that is, I mean, it's tough. It's tough to say it out loud. Like, you know, and I was having this conversation, and I say this pretty much on every single Zoom that I am already in, okay? Or that I have ever been on. The rank that you are going for is the same exact mountain that you have already climbed. It's just a little bit higher. So when you joined, you thought you could never be successful. You didn't think you could sign a customer. You didn't think that you could promote. You didn't think that you could do these things, and you did. Okay, because I don't see anyone who's wanting to just go executive. So I'm assuming, I mean, I'm seeing lots of emeralds, a diamond, some doubles, ruby. Okay, so like you joined and you didn't think that you would get anything from this for the most part, and you're here. And so that's the same. Once you promote to ruby, you did something that you never thought you could do. Just like you never think that you could go emerald, and then you do. So it's the same mountain that you've already climbed. It's just a little bit higher, because guys, I remember the time when I was diamond and I didn't think I could ever get to double. How in the world do people have 15,000 group volume? Like, I can't even fathom that. I'm barely holding on to diamond. I'm not even getting paid as a diamond. How is this going to happen? But there was once upon a time when I didn't even think that I could go ruby, and I did that. And there was a time that I didn't think I could go emerald, and I did that. And there was a time that I didn't think I could get diamond, and I did that. Not just once, but 3 times. Okay, so like when I was going double, I had to put on my promotion panties, and I tell my team that all the time. Like, your promotion panties better be pulled up to your boobs, because like we're going. So like tuck them in and like let's start running, because like that's to the point that we're at. Because guys, like this is the time last year that my business changed, and I think like if I wasn't in the mindset of like pull them suckers up and like tuck them in because we're fixing to go, and you know, now I think if I wouldn't have made that decision, I wouldn't, you know, how much has changed. Like I said, this time last year, my group volume was like 1,800. My group volume is not 1,800 right now. Like it is triple diamond group volume and higher than that. And so that is how much can change in a short period of time, because the time's going to pass anyway. And so I'm glad y'all found a kick out of that, but it is so true. Like pull them up and like start doing the things, because the things pay off. And so, you know, if you're not seeing the results that you're wanting, do something different, do more of it. That's something that I think I said this on, no, I did it on a live video today. Just one more, just one more, just one more. So when I don't want to work, it's just one more. And I took that from Jade, and it's always stuck with me. When I don't want to post, just post one more time. When I don't want to message, just post one more time. When I don't want to, you know, go through another promotion month because it's insane, just one more time. Like, and I say that to myself all the time, because guys, like, do I wake up every morning? Like the same feelings that you're having right now don't change based on your rank. You think that you're suddenly going to be just all the time motivated when you hit triple diamond, you're wrong. You're going to face the same things of not wanting to post, not wanting to be active, the same way that you do now. It's a decision. And the people who get to those ranks, it's a decision to keep going even when they don't want to, because it's not that other people can't, it's just that other people won't. Messaging's not hard. Everybody can message. People won't though. people won't do it. So if you can be the 2%, which is diamonds, who do, you're going to go diamonds. If you're going to be the 2% that sends one more, or the top 0.5% who goes triple, 0.5%. Out of 100 people, 0.5% goes triple. Not a full person, 0.5%. So if you can be that 0.5% who does the things, you're going to get to where you want to go. And so that's something that I do. Like when I get off here, what I really want to go do is go lay in bed, because I got about 2 hours of sleep last night and I'm tired. But is that going to get me where I need to go? No. So I'm going to go in the bathtub and I'm going to send just one more host post, just one more distributor message, just one more Instagram story, and do all the things. And that's what I tell myself when I don't want to do it. And so you're never always going to feel motivated, because motivation is like an illusion. It's not real. You just have to do it anyway. You have to do it because you're going to work for what you want and not how you feel, ever. You're never always going to feel like it. And so that's truly how I work my business. Like I've had lots of messages from distributors that I didn't even know followed me, asked me like, what's a tip? Because I had just went triple. What's a tip? I'm like, you just do it. Like whether you want to or not, you just do it. Do I want to go in there for an hour and make reels and TikToks? No, I hate it. I hate every bit of it. Do I do it? Yes. Why? Because people at the top are telling me to do it. I don't know. That's what I do. And if your leader is telling you to make Instagram stories and post and message and do 10 host posts, then just do it. Just do it. Because guys, that's literally all I do. And it's all I teach my team to do. And that's what they're teaching their team to do. And it's just teaching people, a lot of people, to do a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And so that's kind of like my tip, all wrapped up into one. So
I feel like that was like 5 million tips all wrapped into one, but it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording.